I'm Andre. It's very nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Rebecca.
So, what brings you to me today?
I was looking to talk to somebody about some problems I'm having at work.
What kind of problems you have?
I, my principal is mad at me. My psych coach is upset with me. I'm a teacher and I have special needs students, most of them having autism, and I'm just having trouble basically keeping my kids safe in the classroom and also providing adequate instruction. And so that's what I'm basically struggling with.
Can you elaborate a little more?
Well, I have, like I said, I teach kids with autism, and some of their behaviors are they run out of the room. One particular student runs out of the building and almost jumped into a retention pond.
Oh, goodness.
And the principal actually caught him before he did, and I was told not to let the kids out of the room, and I mean, I don't let them out of the room, but they get out, and I don't, know where they went, so I radio for help. And if I'm by myself, I can't leave my other kids either, so I'm not always, my Paris does take breaks and has a lunch break, so I just, really struggling with basically my job right now.
So it sounds to me like you mentioned your para. I understand the position a little bit. It was a lunch break, so you might not be, the ratio might not be enough for you right now to be able to maintain a classroom. It sounds like you're telling me that she'll take a break and then considering their behaviors.
Well, she's entitled to her breaks. I can't stop her. Nobody really can stop her. It's in their contract to have a break, a lunch break, and 2 10-minute breaks. So I have to deal with it. I mean, I feel like my room does need another para. So, but they don't just give second paras. It actually would be a one-on-one.
Well, before we get into the second para, considering the behaviors in the class, what can be done when your para is at lunch, or even not, to prevent further occurrences like this from happening? How could you prevent that from happening?
Well, I guess instead of when my para's at lunch, I probably could rearrange my schedule possibly, and I have to talk to the psych coach and get it approved. But I think it might be better to take my kids to the playground while their para's at lunch. And also, if there's another class, I think there's another class out there at that time too. So there would be 2 of us out there. And then the kids usually stay on the playground because they like the playground. And then just wait for my para to come back and then go back to the classroom.
So you sound like you've thought of this quite a bit. Now, you mentioned another para. Have you spoken to your administration about your concerns?
I've spoken to the psych coach, and she just tells me I have to prove on paper that I need another para, and I really don't know what she means by that. I do take notes, I write down everything that happens, but I'm not sure what she means by prove I need another para.
Could you ask her to elaborate?
I mean, I do. I mean, she said you need to take data. I'm still confused by that because I tell her I write everything down, so I'm not sure what she means. I think sometimes I feel she's just frustrated with me and she doesn't want to really give me the proper information. Either she just doesn't like me or she's just mad. And, I mean, I don't know what to do. I do know somebody else that works in a CSS class. Maybe I can ask them, in another school, what they would do.
You sound frustrated that you can't turn to the people in your own school for answers. You've made mention that you didn't think that she liked you. What does she do? How does she convey that to you, that she does not like you?
she's doesn't understand when there's issues in my classroom. She gets very angry and comes at me and doesn't really care to ask what happened. You know, I mean, it's not like I want it to happen. It's not like I'm, late or not where I'm supposed to be. It just happens. I mean, and I'm trying to do what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm trying to teach these kids and follow routines and having groups, but it just the kid gets out and
Sounds like she's blaming you um, for the child's behavior, for their instinctual behavior. Has she taught a class like yours before?
yeah, all psych coaches have to teach. Usually are teachers. I don't know. I don't think she was a teacher very long, but she's been a psych coach for a long time now. So
Um,
schools are very political, and if they don't like you, they don't like you, and there's not really I can do about that. I mean, I can still be a good employee and try to do my best, but I feel like at this point, I'm just going to look for another job over the summer, a
uh,
different position.
see, you sound kind of desperate to leave this job.
Well, I don't really want to be a special education teacher in the capacity that I am. It's never really what I wanted to do. I always thought of myself teaching in a gen ed setting or being a teacher that helps students in the gen ed setting. So um, working with the kids who are in gen ed and who have IEPs, doing those kind of things. But I was placed in a CSS position, so that also is a special ed position.
Have you what have you done to explore different options?
Well, I'm going to I do have the K through 12 certification, which you need. They like people to be dual certified. So I have special ed on my certificate in K through 12. Um, I'm finishing my master's in school counseling, and that's really where I want to be after this summer anyway, and I will be done this summer. So I'm hoping to be able to find a position as a school counselor.
Now, staying in the district, sounds like it's what you want. If the positions that you're looking for open up. In the meantime, how do you return tomorrow and move forward in your position successfully?
Well, I definitely I have to figure out from now, February to June 6th or whatever the last day of school is, to be able to stay there without getting in trouble or fired. I don't really feel like up and leaving at this point, although, I mean, I may see what's out there because there are still positions open. I will have a conversation with my principal and psych coach and let them know I'm doing the best I can, and I'm going to talk to the para and go over the zoning plan and do the best I can. And maybe in front of the principal, I'll ask the psych coach about what she meant about the data and this, and maybe she'll be able, be more willing to tell me that in front of the principal. And basically, I'll do my best to make sure I don't get fired. And if I have to stop teaching, I'll stop teaching, and I'll make sure the kids are in the room, because that's really, I think, all they really care about.
You sound very, very defeated, which is not an impression that I have of someone who's achieving so much academically and has different goals that they look to seek out as they grow. You made mention that that you felt that you were not liked in this school. that the support network offered to teachers may not be limited to just the school. Have you thought about, let me rephrase that, how could you, have you thought about how could you get that support that you need so that you could be comfortable in your job and not feel like you could be fired tomorrow or the next day, depending on when that child leaves the room?
Well, I mean, I do write down everything, um, and everything. I write down everything that happens, what time it is, and just to keep. So I have a consistent log of what happened. And this way, if something does come down and somebody tries to question something, I can say, well, I wrote everything down and I have a detailed, recollection of what happened in a log. And I also, I'm going to call DTU and see what. I mean, I don't like to call DTU and like bring it to the forefront because I feel like that completely. Once you involve DTU with the principal, I mean, I feel like it's just that's the end of any positive relationship you're gonna have because that's it. You know, you're always gonna have DTU. You have to call DTU or have DTU there. But I think I will call them and let them know my concerns and see what they recommend, or just to even just know that I've called and they've documented that I've called and had concerns might maybe be something that could be good for me.
I remember earlier you mentioned a zoning plan. Could you elaborate a little bit on what that might be?
It's a plan that tells anybody who's coming in the room, and it also lets people in the room know, who work in the room, what they're doing, pretty much minute by minute of the day. Any classroom that has a paraprofessional or more than one staff in the room has them. And for their rooms, they're just to ensure that the staff in the room know where they should be and what they should be doing at the time of the day.
So it provides the staff direction and assignment. I thought this is what that might be. Now you had mentioned that your paraprofessional has access to the zoning plan. How could you work with her so that she could better understand the expectations you have, so that you could in the now maintain, I guess, your employment or the safety of the children?
Well, I went over it within the beginning of the year. I mean, I did it and gave her a copy of it and told her where it was, and it's posted up on a board. But I'm going to probably talk to her about it again and reprint it out and sit with her and ask her, go through it step by step, and ask her if there's anything she doesn't like about it or likes about it. And by doing that, hopefully she will understand and realize, what she's responsible for. And I will also point out and tell her this plan could be, and this is what I was told, was it could be used in court. It's a legal document. We need to be following it.
Hopefully you don't sound very confident.
Well, I'm hoping she'll respond well to it, but I don't know. Sometimes she doesn't, so I don't think she's very vested in being there. She's really there for the paycheck.
What kind of things has she done has she done to make you feel that way?
She just sits there, unless I tell her specifically to do something. She otherwise does nothing. She just sits in a chair. And by now, she's been there 15 years with Duval County. She should be a little bit more proactive to me. I'm not a micromanaging person. I don't criticize her, every move. I'm not a bossy person per se to say that, oh, no, you can't do that. I don't, judge everything she does, but in the same sense, I'm not telling her what to do every minute. I'm expecting her to know what to do. I mean, and follow the plan. It's there. I have work for her to do with the kids, and I have activities that she could put out for the kids and be able to watch the ones that need more supervision. And she just doesn't understand that when she's assigned to the harder kids and the other kids are supposed to be doing stuff, she's supposed to be supervising the harder ones.
So it kind of sounds like you give her a lot of room and space to grow and to be able to, a lot of trust to be able to handle her position, at least to face. Now, given the circumstances and the child running out of the room, how could you go about it differently with her?
I'm gonna have to go back and go over that zoning plan with her in detail, and I'm gonna actually hopefully have the psych coach sit in with that and reinforce what I say, and I'm gonna ask her point blank if she understands it, and I will just go back to the example of when the boy ran out of the room. She was zoned to him and she didn't get up and go get him. From now on, that instead of me getting in trouble, it's going to be the person who's assigned to him on the zoning plan.
Okay.
So if you're sitting with him, you need to be proactive about. She could have stopped him. As soon as he jumped up, I mean, I'm not saying she has to wrestle him, but if she would have just grabbed his arm and kind of pulled him back to the seat, he would have sat back down. She does not move at all, and by the time I got around my table, he was already out the door. And I'm just going to let her know that she needs, she's here for those reasons, behavior reasons. And she needs to start stepping up and dealing with that.
How long have you been a teacher?
6 years.
These problems, I imagine, are more recent.
The last 2 years we've had more difficult kids. Our program has grown. We didn't have that many. We're a new program, and now, it's been a couple years, so we have more kids in our class, and they're more difficult.
So how did you feel about being a teacher, a special ed teacher, 6 years ago?
Like I said, and I did want to teach in a different kind of setting, but it wasn't so bad. My first 2 years, I had like 3 kids, and I really was able to sit and work with them, and I felt like I was making a difference. They were behavioral, but there's only 3 of them, so it was very manageable. Now at like 10, it's really unmanageable, and I really don't have any time to sit. I'm always up and just making sure now that the kids are not getting out of the room. I mean, I kind of don't even want to leave the door because I'm scared one's going to get out.
It's interesting when the few words you shared with me about how you felt about the job 6 years ago, your eyes widened a little bit, and your affect changed. And then as you continued the conversation, you got back to more present time, your eyes closed, and you seemed a little more down again about it. Just a small change, just listening you talk about the 2 times in your career. Which I find interesting that there's such a big shift, and it would be terrific to see you get back to that place where you were happy in what you did, even with the goals that you have to move forward and do different things. Remembering how you used to feel, is there anything that you used to do that you did back then that you could adapt to your job now could make you feel like that again? How did you handle problems then so differently?
I had less going on in my life. I didn't have children at the time,
Okay.
and I wasn't working on a master's, so I really think my focus is to move on from this career. I mean, not the career of education, but a special education teacher in a self-contained classroom.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's my time to move on. I really focus on working as a school counselor or teaching in a different setting, completely, even general ed.
You mentioned when looking to relate to an old experience, you mentioned that you have, that it's different now, that you have children now, so it's different than it was. Could you elaborate a little bit?
I'm a mother of 2 children, and I'm working on my master's program.
And how does that make it more difficult now for you at your place of work?
I don't have time to stay after and do a lot that I used to. I have to leave at 3:10 and get my children and get on with my second job at home.
We're running short on time. I'd like to continue this conversation next week when we meet. In the meantime, I'd like you to think about different ways that you could make this position more tolerable, a better place for you to work, to be happier in your job, moving forward while you're still working in that position. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you very much for coming down. I look forward to seeing you again.
Okay, bye.